And yes, you're welcome. It is Understanding Your Child's Learning Style Course 2023. All right, you're welcome here. And we're going to just play you instead of just
Hello,
up a whole profile. We're going to just play a video for you so that I'm not going to be assuming that everybody knows me here. I'm going to just introduce myself using this few minute video before we jump in into the conversation of the day. But trust me, we are so glad to have you here. You're welcome.
Wendy Ologe is a foremost parent coach in Africa who believes that her calling to parents will change the next generation of people in Africa. She is the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy, a coaching outfit dedicated to equipping parents and intending parents to intentionally raise their children positively, especially in the face of our decaying societal values. Wendy aims to lead parents with everything it takes to raise an excellent child mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically, because she believes that parenting the next generation better is the way to have a better world tomorrow. She helps parents parent with peace and calm. She believes that parenting isn't about tips and hacks, but a process that walks a child through the 18 years of their lives with the parents as a guide. The Intentional Parent Academy has several programs and courses that helps parents run through a process that helps them raise their children intentionally. CIP Academy runs the famous Inner Circle program for parents, a program that takes parents through a yearly process that have impacted families and generations to come. She is the author of many best-selling parenting books, including Connect to Correct, Walking Your Child Through Puberty, The Discipline That Works, From Yelling to Calm, Resolving Sibling Rivalry, Parenting Launch Plan, Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, Volume 1, and her latest 3 publications, Raising the Independent Thinking Child, How to Love Your Child More, and Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, Volume 2. She also authors 15 other parenting guides. Her books and parenting guides have sold over 150,000 copies across the nations of the earth. She also runs an online community on Facebook called The Intentional Parents with over 100,000 members as at today. Via this group, Facebook selected her among 100 others in the globe to be a global leader, leading communities for the circles in Abuja. Facebook selected her group to flag off the first parenting subscription group in Africa. Wendy has spoken on many stages, including being interviewed by the biggest Christian TV network in Africa, Christian Broadcasting Network CBN Africa, on their famous TV program, The 700 Club, twice, 2019 and 2020. This interview has been aired on both international and national TV stations, including TBN, which is the largest Christian television network in the world, and Channels Television, Nigeria. In October 2019, Wendy represented Africa at the Facebook Global Parenting Panel at their headquarters in California, United States. Her group, The Intentional Parent, was recognized as one of the most relevant and engaging parenting groups in Africa in 2019 by Facebook. On 1st of October 2020 at the Facebook Community Summit, Wendy was named by the Facebook team as one of the people building relevant groups globally. Wendy is the first African and Nigerian to sit on the board of the International Day of Calm. Wendy is also the convener of famous online parents conference, the Intentional Parents Conference, a global annual program for parents to help transfer to their generations to come. In 2021, she was named one of the top female coaches in the world by the Divine Purpose magazine, United States. Wendy Ologe is the foremost parent. Wendy Ologe is a foremost parent coach in Africa who believes that her calling to parents will change the next generation of people in Africa. She is the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy, a coaching outfit dedicated to equipping parents and intending parents to intentionally raise their children positively, especially in the face of our decaying societal values. Wendy aims to lead parents with everything it takes to raise an excellent child mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically, because she believes that parenting the next generation better is the way to have a better world tomorrow. She helps parents parent with peace and calm. She believes that parenting isn't about tips and hacks, but a process that walks a child through the 18 years of their lives with the parents as a guide. The Intentional Parent Academy has several programs and courses that helps parents run through a process that helps them raise their children intentionally. CIP Academy runs the famous Inner Circle program for parents, a program that takes parents through a yearly process that have impacted families and generations to come. She is the author of many best-selling parenting books, including Connect to Correct, Walking Your Child Through Puberty, The Discipline That Works, From Yelling to Calm, Resolving Sibling Rivalry, Parenting Launch Plan, Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, Volume 1, and her latest 3 publications, Raising the Independent Thinking Child, How to Love Your Child More, and Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, Volume 2. She also authors 15 other parenting guides. Her books and parenting guides have sold over 150,000 copies across the nations of the earth. She also runs an online community on Facebook called The Intentional Parents with over 100,000 members as at today. Via this group, Facebook selected her among 100 others in the globe to be a global leader, leading communities for the circles in Abuja. Facebook selected her group to flag off the first parenting subscription group in Africa. Wendy has spoken on many stages, including being interviewed by the biggest Christian TV network in Africa, Christian Broadcasting Network (CBN Africa), on their famous TV program, The 700 Club, twice, 2019 and 2020. This interview has been aired on both international and national TV stations, including TBN, which is the largest Christian television network in the world, and Channels Television, Nigeria. In October 2019, Wendy represented Africa at the Facebook Global Parenting Panel at their headquarters in California, United States. Her group, The Intentional Parent, was recognized as one of the most relevant and engaging parenting groups in Africa in 2019 by Facebook. On 1st of October 2020 at the Facebook Community Summit, Wendy was named by the Facebook team as one of the people building relevant groups globally. Wendy is the first African and Nigerian to sit on the board of the International Day of Calm. Wendy is also the convener of famous online parents conference, the Intentional Parents Conference, a global annual program for parents to help transfer to their generations to come. In 2021, she was named one of the top female coaches in the world by the Divine Purpose magazine, United States of America, and was featured on Fox, NBC, ABC, and CBC News, United States of America. Wendy is also the executive director at Smart Office, a corporate organization with a focus of developing businesses through capacity building, provision of service to workspaces, and hostels for students. Her work experiences include years in international non-governmental organizations with over 10 years of experience in the USAID leading projects. Wendy also has experience in the banking sector. She likes to refer to her husband as the governor and a god. Their union of over 12 years is blessed with 2 biological children, a set of twins, and 1 foster daughter who is married. For more information, call 080-34377085. Learn more at www.wendyologe.com or email wendyologe@gmail.com. Thank you.
And yes, you are welcome to Understanding Your Child Learning Style course. For those of you who are saying, oh, I can't see coach, I can't see the class and all of that. The next thing you're going to see now are the slides, all right? And please, if you're having any challenges, simply put a comment in the chat room and the team will attend to you. The team is on standby to attend to you. And thank you again for trusting us. Now, Understanding Your Child's Learning Style course 2023. This is reformed, republished, whatever. We've done this for 4 years now, and this is a whole new different dimension. Now, this is just the introduction that we've been able to read for you, and I'm not going to kill your time reading about what we do in the academy. Again, I'm sure that if you go online and search www.theintentionalparentacademy, you are going to see everything about the Intentional Parent Academy. Okay, so let's get to the matter of the day. Now, why am I here? Why am I here? That's the conversation today. Why am I here? Once you identify whether your child learns primarily by looking, by listening, or by doing, you can help shape the educational experience so as to prioritize this primary learning style. Now, while at the same time not ignoring the importance of well-rounded learning. Now, this learning style course is not for you to just understand that, oh, this is how my child learns and it becomes a one-way traffic. No. What we're going to be teaching you is also how you're going to be able to understand how the brain works, and then you will be able to also use it in positive for your child. All right. So that's one. It will also help you to create a better disciplinary strategy, also, because, like I say, discipline is teaching. Okay. And because I say discipline is teaching, it's teaching must be effective. Then you need to understand how the child will learn to become effective. I saw where a parent in the our parents in the inner circle said coach was wearing red. Yes, red is the best color for today with what it is that we're bringing for you. Now, why am I here? You knowing whether your child absorbs information by touching, looking, listening will help you cultivate her optimal study habits. Now, let me tell you something. When you get to the point where you get the aha moment, we like the fire emojis. So you just put the fire emojis when you get to those times that you're like, what has happened to me? Okay, so you're going to have a lot of that today. All right. Also, remember, this is not just a class for your child, it's also a class for you, because the moment you realize and know how it is that you learn, it changes the tides. Let's go there. Why am I here? When you have finally determined which learning style your child succeeds in, you will have a stronger grasp of how to help your child learn, even in your disciplinary strategies. I have seen that quite a number of parents, completely struggle with disciplinary strategies just because they do not understand how your child learns. Why am I here? You can also become a better advocate, all right, for your child at school. Ensure that your child has the confidence and the competence to understand their type of learning and further excel in their academic career. That way, your child is able to actually learn. Your child is able to actually put a lot, in perspective on their own. Because, like I often say, passing exams is different from learning. Let's go, because we have a lot to talk about today. Now, why do you need to understand how your child learns? Let me take this out because I'm sure that's going to be blocking some view. Now, I like this quote, all right? It says that change is the end result of all true learning. Learning never exhausts the mind. For the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them. Learning is not attained by chance. It must be sought for, all right, with ardor and attended to with diligence. Learning is not a fluke. Learning is not just you, putting it's not by chance. Some people tell me your children do well in school because you are lucky. That's not what learning is. I can prove it over and again for you that you can help your children learn irrespective of where you're coming from. Learning never exhausts the mind. So if your child is tired, like you have come out of school for the past how many years, and you just do not want to learn anything, that's not learning. Learning is not attained by chance. It is something you sought for. It is something you attend to with a lot of diligence. And that's why we're here, learning. As a way of introduction, I've observed that many parents do not understand that child learns, but beyond this, they don't understand how they themselves learn. So in my journey as a parent coach, I have observed that we usually parent based on our own learning style without considering how our children learn. Now, one of the things that I have realized is that we are constantly teaching with our dominant learning style, which is only natural. But anytime you actually put a lot in perspective, you find out that the way you are teaching your child is struggling because your child doesn't learn like you. And I'm going to share this example. I share it all the time with the parents in the inner circle. My son struggled to learn. And that's why I got interested in this particular topic. And I started to do research, take courses. And I said, there are many parents who are like me, who are struggling. And I'm going to bring this knowledge to the fore. Now, I have a set of twins who are 13 years old, right? I've been married for 14 years, by the way. All right. I know that introduction said 12 years. I'll be married this year is 14 years in marriage. I have 13-year-olds, a set of twins. And my daughter, who is an auditory learner and visual, very much auditory, more auditory than she is visual, started to read as early as 4. In fact, by the time they were leaving nursery school, our daughter read the valedictory speech, 3-page book. She was reading fluently. Our son could hardly read. It was frustrating. We were trying to teach him using our dominant learning style. My husband is very visual. I am auditory. We were trying to get him to learn the way we learn. And we didn't recognize, we didn't even know what it was, that our son was a kinesthetic learner. So we continued to struggle until we discovered, we took a course, just like you are taking today. And we discovered that our son only learned by activities. That changed the tides for us. And we started to teach him using his dominant learning style. Today, he learns via auditory well, and he learns via visual well. And that's the idea. The idea is to teach a child from the place of strength to the place of their weakness, not from the place of their weakness to the place of their strength. So you need to find out what strength is that child. And the strength what you're going to discover today is exactly how your child learns. And then what happened eventually? By the time our son was in primary 5, his essays were being reviewed in school. Like when he writes an essay, they bring it out to review who wrote this essay, how did it go, and all of that. And it was like a spectacle, something to look at. And today we have a son who is a total, no-brainer when it comes to, doing well in school, topping the class. Our son will do almost 100% in secondary school. Now, this testimony I'm sharing with you is not because, we gave birth to one child that is so smart. People say, oh, your children are so smart and all of that. No, there was a lot of work that was put in. And this is your journey to putting in a lot of work. And I want to say congratulations. If you are a parent of a toddler, let me see you in the comment section. Clap for yourself. You have taken the best decision ever. In years to come, you will remember that coach with that blonde hair. And you will say, that yellow coach that told me, that taught me, I am very grateful. And if you are a parent of a teenager, all right, like we have, just hang in there. You just have more work to do. That's all. It's not like you're not going to be able to achieve it. But while the parent of the toddler is doing, one thing, dude, and just walking through it, you are going to put in a lot of work. Like I tell the parents in the inner circle, you need to wear khaki because your fight is totally different. Now, the way we all receive and process information differ. Sometimes these things are based partly on our environment, but majorly they are part of our genetic profiles. No learning style is better than the other or worse than the other. So this month in the inner circle, level 1, we read why you act the way you do, and we discovered different kind of temperament, sanguine, choleric, and all of that. And by the time we got to a point, people were like, coach, I'm like this. I'm not like this. I'm not like this temperament. And I said something to them. I said, temperament is not destiny. All right. This is you discovering who you are and then working on your weaknesses to become a better person. There is no better temperament. Just like that, there is no better, there is no better learning style. I believe in embracing the uniqueness of your child's learning style will help understand them more. And in turn, connect better with them as well. Now, this is how the brain learns. I like science a lot. I have a medical background. So anytime I teach, I like to teach you from the place of science. I like to teach you from the place of being able to see things in the real sense of it so that you're not confused. Nobody's telling you, oh, this is how because is this. No, 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 no. Now, connecting the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. Now, understanding this changed my children's learning. If you understand this, your children will do well reading, they will do well in school, they will do well, in everything that has to be with brain work. Now, when you understand connecting the right, and the left hemisphere of the brain, it's called the superhighway of the connective nerve tissue. That nerve tissue is called corpus callosum. Now, when children are taught the importance of the right and right, to left brain connection in the brain function, they begin to capitalize on it in their learning. But you as a parent will need to understand what this is about. Now, it's very, very key and important. I'm going to share with you a little bit about, this brain connectivity. Our brains are the best state-of-the-art computer till today. All right? And so the brain of a woman weighs 1.2 kg. The brain of a man weighs 1.35 kg. So the brain of a man weighs bigger than the brain of the woman. Now, the human brain is an amazing organ. And no, the difference in weight doesn't mean the difference in ability between men and women, please. So don't get that wrong. Now, brain imaging shows that women's and men's brain can process information and solve problems at precisely the same speed, but use the brain differently to do so. Now, the difference in both the women and the male brain is the thick band of the nerve fibers that connect this left and the right, brain. Now, what is that thick band? That is this corpus callosum. That's what it is that you can see here. All right, right here on this diagram. Okay, the reason for this, so it means that it appears thicker and more pronounced in women than it is in men. It haven't been proved yet for the reason for this. But what we know is that without this connectivity between the left and the right side, the brain finds it extremely hard to process information. Now, the right brain and the left brain works best for us when we're working together via the corpus callosum. This is an important aspect of you trying to work with developing your child's brain. Think about it. When you wake up in the morning and you hear a radio in the morning, you find out that you can't get that song out of your head. Why do you think that happens? You are, there, the song is not going off. All right? Why do you think that happens exactly? It is because songs work well to help engage the right and the left connectivity. That's why, for parents in the inner circle, I tell them, play songs in the morning when you wake up in your home. There's something it does to the brain and also produces calm also. Instead of you screaming everywhere before your children go to school and all of that, you can turn that and begin to use music. Because it has the most basic, right? The right hemisphere, okay? The right hemisphere is responsive. There's a right hemisphere, there's the left hemisphere. The right hemisphere is responsive to tonality, sound, music, rhythm, while the left hemisphere is busy with language processing and rationalizing what he hears. So songs are irresistible to the brain. And how the memory works, because they activate both the right and the left hemisphere. And that is why, because, the same line, okay, the same line that, the same path that the brain learns mathematics with, because the brain usually would need this connectivity at the highest point to learn mathematics. That's why people struggle with it. The same path that he learns mathematics, the same path you actually learn musical instruments with. So if you want to, do something differently, I tell parents, take your children to learn one musical instrument. It changes everything. Now, that's what stimulates them to work together. Music stimulates the brain to work together. It's been proven that children who play one kind of musical instrument actually are able to do better, with the studies. The reason is simple. It's the connectivity. Research has shown that the more we learn how to stimulate the left and the right brain connectivity, the better learners we become. This is very, very important. The brain has been, seen to have the ability for neuroplasticity. And that is that thing. What we're born with is not necessarily set on stone. It can be improved with training techniques. All right? So that's the implication for how our children are taught, how they are taught to use their brain to think, to learn. And that's why I have a problem with how some of us are teaching. This connectivity is one of the most exciting things in neuroscience today. Understanding how the left brain and the right brain works is one of the key factors in letting your children learn better. So it is important that you put this in perspective. Now, from studies in neuroscience, it's been said it appears that children who are more able to do mathematics are using both left and right hemisphere to achieve their answers quickly and more efficiently. Now, we're talking about how the brain works. We're talking about how the brain works. And we're talking about connecting the brain. All right? We're going to also be talking about, more of how you can use the brain to actually, these brain activities to help you a lot more. I'll talk a bit about metacognition, as we go. Now, these are key brain facts that you must note. Every 6 months, your brain uses up approximately the same amount of energy it would take to light up a 60-watt light bulb. Now, every hour, your brain uses as much energy as it would take to light 10 lamps in your home. So the brain needs a lot of energy, a whole lot of it. Key fact number 2, the brain comprises 60% fatty acids. And even when the human body is run down, it always works to retain an all-important fat quotient in the brain. All right, I'm going to also share with you as we go why these things, are the way they are. Remember, we have 5 modules, so please relax. Our brain takes up to 20% of the oxygen we breathe and takes up only 2% of our overall weight, making it the best portable computer ever that you can ever see. Our brain takes up 20% of oxygen we breathe, but takes only 2% of our overall weight. So 20% of oxygen, what that is. Now, the world once believed that as we grow older, our brain cells die. That's not true. It has now been found that through healthy brain diet, new cells can actually be grown. Now we're talking about, learning style. But before we talk about learning style, okay, I'm going to share with you something that we call, brain toning fun with trampolining. You know the trampoline that children jump on. So when parents come and say they're always playing, do you know that the trampoline can be used to actually build and tone the brain muscles? So if you have access to trampoline, there are some activities for your family that you can do to tone the brain at the same time, with the body. Trampolines are, you see them in gardens today and all of that. Children just bounce around, appearing almost addicted to the booing and the giggling away as they fly into the air and bounce back and all of that. But trampolining is actually a unique form of exercise that is not only good for the body toning, but for brain toning. It is successful. In fact, it's been used. They use it in NASA training for astronauts. No, the reason they use it is not for them to see how they are flying. That's not it. All right. It is so that you will you'll be able to actually build and tone, okay, all of these things that we're talking about. Now, all exciting, but it is not what the activities describe in the opposite. What is brilliant about trampolining is that it successfully brings together the brain and body toning. It works major muscle groups in the body activities, and it also encourages metacognition. All right, so now let me tell you a bit about metacognition. Metacognition is an important, is important in child development. It's the child's brain ability to think about how it thinks. So your child's ability to think about how the brain thinks. That may be a strange concept, but without this facility, our brain will not be able to adapt their thinking to new situations and problems and view things differently. Now, metacognition is a brain phenomenon that can be toned, it can be worked on. All right, it can be worked on. Oh yes, somebody said people with learning disabilities go for trampoline activities. Yes, it's actually used for people who have learning disabilities. So as I'm sharing, and I'm sure even for your children who are extremely kinesthetic, it can be used to build metacognition as well. Now, when trampoline is a brilliant activity that can work the brain ability in the child, because it's both fun, it's physical, it gives them the opportunity to exercise both the brain and the body. Now, but developing metacognition is something that you can do anytime you ask your child to think about something in a different way. For example, don't feel afraid to set them little thinking challenges when you are out and about. Like you're doing something in the house, like a do-it-yourself kind of thing in the house. Get them involved in thinking about decisions. Like what color will go with this and why? Which furniture will go with this and why? Let them pick the clothes that will match with their destiny, and let them actually be the ones, right, choosing and matching those colors. All right? Get them to understand as you're going on the go, how would we do things better? The great thing is that children are born with fresh ideas and viewpoints, but the problem is that we don't even allow them. When you engage children in conversation so that they have to use their mind to think things different ways, you are helping them to develop their natural metacognitive ability. All right? It costs absolutely nothing, and it's great fun. So how do you use trampolining to begin to tone the brain? I am going to share 2 activities that you can do on the trampoline that can help tone the brain of your child. All right, even for adults, it works wonders. Like I said, it's used in NASA for training. Number 1 activity is that for adults, you can have one adult and one child, or 2 children together. You hold the ball between your bodies and try to move slowly clockwise and anti-clockwise while you're jumping in the air and trying to keep the center of the trampoline. Use the ball as a visual guide to help you. Now, the object of this activity is not to go higher, but to maintain a steady pace and see how well you can do it working together. Now, keep going for 5 to 10 minutes, and then you take breaks as feels appropriate. That's one, that's one activity that you can try. Activity number 2, this is for adults, for one adult and a child at a time. Now, the object of this activity is to challenge yourself to land in alternating positions, sitting down, standing up, and keep landing on the X. You must already be comfortable and practiced at landing, sitting down, or standing up. Now, this is not a physical agility test. It is to work the mental activity into an already great physical activity to tone the brain. So you can keep going for 5 to 10 minutes, taking breaks when you feel it is appropriate. Now, let me say something about learning. There are a lot of things that you do. You might just say, no, just play and all of that. The moment you access a higher knowledge about that learning, all right, you will begin to find out that learning, it turns to be something else. And let me tell you a secret. We use trampolining to build our son's metacognition, and his thinking ability is something else today. Because he had problems, he had issues reading, it was something that was so key for us. Drawing and trampolining was key on that concept, because I'm going to get there. We're talking about kinesthetic learners and how they learn and how they are disadvantaged in this part of the world. Now, there are 3 primary learning styles that we're going to actually be talking about in this conversation today. Number 1 primary learning style are the visual learners. Now, visual learners are people who understand information best when they see it. Okay? Now, these people make up about 65% of the population, just like every other learner. Certain strategies are especially effective at helping a visual learner. 65%. Visual learners, it means that they are processing information 60 times faster than text. So visual information comes to them, they process it 60,000 times faster. Now, it is you're looking at it, okay? You're looking at this 60,000 faster. You have a visual learner and you are trying to bombard. So imagine having a visual learner and you're talking and giving instructions. So when we were raising our foster daughter, I didn't recognize that she was a visual learner until I went through a course like this. And then, I realized that when I'm giving instructions to her, she's looking at one thing that is, so pink, so red, so, and I'm just talking and talking. I'm an auditory learner. So I use my style and I'm talking, and why can't you listen? I always had a problem with her on giving instructions. But until I learned this, that killed everything, and that was it. Just like other learners, there are some things that you can actually, do for them. Somebody's asking if the things can benefit from trampoline. Yes, adults can. And I said that they use it in NASA for training, and because it's about training the brain. Now, visual learners process information that can see better than information that they can hear. So if your child is a dominant visual learner, your child is going to be processing what they see faster than what they hear. What did I start doing with our foster daughter? We started writing instructions and pasting them on the corners of the house. That solved all of my problem. All right. Now, they have a greater chance of remembering information that is presented to them in form of graphics, in form of the things that they can see. This is actually very important. Now, your child is a visual learner if he or she does the following: excels in visual activities like art. My daughter is about a 40% visual learner and about a 60% auditory learner. She does act so well. They enjoy books that include illustrations, picture, graph, maps. So you have a child who is a visual learner. You're buying books that are so worded. You take them out. In fact, if you buy too much worded books for my son, many years ago, our son is just going to get tired. Right now, he can read 400-page book, but we started from his strength before we now got to his weakness. Now, these also good. They are good at recognizing and calling people's name, words, places. They are visual people. Your child is a visual learner if he's very interested in the world and objects around them. Your child is a visual learner if he does best when provided with an example of a task you are showing. They like to see. It is what you see that they actually pick up. Now, the child is a visual learner. Your child is a visual learner if he does the following: needs and likes to visualize things, see them written down on paper. They learn through seeing images. They can remember pictures, on pages and all of that. They enjoy art and drawing. They read maps. They can do charts, diagram with competence. Now, note, every person should actually know how to do this. But of course, you need to know what the dominant strength is, and then you teach from there. I struggled with, map reading and all of that. I'm not so visual. I can see you wearing something and I don't remember what it is that you're wearing. The moment I sit here, the visual learners are going to notice that my background is different. Okay, so I'm in my home office. All right. So visual learners, we understand that, okay, coach is not in our office today. What, has happened? Some visual learners, some auditory learners will be more interested in the tonation of my voice and how my voice is going up and down. They will not remember what I'm wearing. But some people have already seen that I'm wearing red. And some people have already seen that I'm in a different environment. That's how visual learners are. All right. You might also be discovering, you would also be discovering yourself as we go through this conversation. Your child is a visual learner. All right. It shows interest in machines and inventions and things that work. All right. Somebody said, I didn't notice the office. Awesome. It is because you're not so visual. Because it's not important. It's not like it's not important to you, but that's not what you're not saying it. You're not so visual, right? So you're not going to notice that there is a change in background until I said it. That's how these things work. Now, they like to play with Lego. They like to play things that they can see. All right, complete puzzles, things that they can see. Okay, Mrs. Snock, I know you already. Sometimes they are daydreamers. Visual learners get lost because they are usually lost with their vision, thinking. Sometimes, you see a child, they've gone, as in they don't go. You're looking and then the child is just dreaming, daydreaming. All right, straight up. that child is a visual learner. Now, visual learners also show, interest in things that they can see, how things work. They like to picture things in their head. They can visualize. They can visualize. They can picture things in their head. They find it difficult to remember jokes because they are worded. They are worded. All right. So they don't remember jokes, but they remember environment, visuals, and all of that. How can you teach your visual learner? Now, most visual learners learn better alone. So you need to create strategies. All right. You need to create strategies that will help them try things on their own. On their own. So when they are studying, teach them to take many notes. Write down, lots of details. My daughter, has a very great percentage of visual. So one of the things that we taught her is to, rewrite her work and all of that. Now, this is a good way to teach every child. But if your child is not a visual learner, you want to start from their strengths. Then you can now teach them this. We're going to get there in the other models. All right. Use color to highlight main ideas. I remember, God bless Mrs. Bankole. She's here. Also, that she's my children's proprietress in primary school. She understood the learning styles of different children, and that was where my daughter learned to use highlights on her notes. Her notes, has highlights everywhere. Everywhere, because he helps her to remember things. She highlights it, she crosses it. Their notes are so colored and interesting. Because the visual learners, that's how they will learn. And that will make it more interesting and more fun for them to actually, do that. Now, create or buy flashcards with picture cue to add memory. One of the things that you want to do if your child is, younger, especially for toddlers, please get flashcards. Flashcards are good for every child at that stage. But if you find out that your child is more of a visual learner, all right, more of a visual learner, you actually would want to enhance, and then you now build on all the other things. All right. Now use board games and memory games to create visual patterns. The memory games to create visual patterns. Let everything, let it be visual. Those games that are not visual is not. All right. It's not that what it is that the child is going to actually connect. Now, suggest visual clues when you're reading together. Let your child paint their own mind pictures as they read the story. Tell them to tell you, what do they see? That's how visual learners learn. What do you see? And they are able to describe what they see in their mind for you. Use stories. Use picture books, all types of reading. All right? And even as they get older, encourage visualization of story. Reinforce these at intervals. Encourage them to visualize stories, to see what it is that they are doing, and all of that. It is very, very important. Now, let's move to the auditory learners. Auditory learners. Auditory learners need to hear the information they are learning. They also respond well to music and vocal rhythms like verse. And then anytime I think about it, I was a child chorister. I loved to hear songs. At that time, I didn't even know that I was an auditory learner. I love spoken words. I love conversations. That's who we are. We like to talk. We like to hear people talk. When you chat me for a while, you find out that I just send a voice note. We're auditory learners. We believe in words. All right? Your child is an auditory learner if they excel at auditory activities, singing, doing stuff. If they think in words and verbalize concepts, I think in words. If you are an auditory learner, okay, if you are auditory learner, and you will find out that you actually teach, in words. So now, when it comes to learning style, please note, just like temperament, you have percentage of each of the learning styles, but one is more dominant than the other. I have a visual part of me, but it's not as strong as my auditory part. They spell words accurately. I was a spelling bee champion when I was growing up because I was a word person. They can hear different sounds. They tend to, learn phonics rather than true look and say technique. Our daughter is an auditory learner. They are good readers. They prefer spoken words, but they read, they like to read. They have excellent memory for names, for dates, and for trivia. Let me tell you something very interesting. So when I worked in USAID, I worked in USAID for 10 years and I was in the training, I was heading the training team. We were training medical doctors and sometimes those classes, MDs of hospitals in Nigeria and all of that. Sometimes I will had a class of about, so the maximum class that you can have is 50 people. And sometimes I will do 50 people in a class for 3 weeks. I'm going to be having like 5 people in a class. The interesting five, sets of 50. The interesting thing, I will remember these people's name. It was an advantage for me. It's because you are auditory learner. You can remember people's names. You can remember the dates. You can remember trivia. You like word games. Omo, you can't win me in Scrabble. It's not possible. So auditory learners are word people. In fact, we play Scrabble so much. Now, in my home, some of us were not also auditory learners, but our parents used that to enhance our auditory learning part. All right. So these are some of the things that would put you to understand even how you learn. They enjoy music. They are often musically talented. Either they play a musical instrument or they sing in choir or something. Okay, is a reading. They usually are, the frequent hums, talk when playing and all of that. And they do well with verbal instructions. Our daughter, when you give her 1,000,001 verbal instructions, she assimilates it. And then when you're talking, our son is lost. He calls it, what does he even call it? Calls it plenty talk. Can you see the difference? All right, between two people. Right. Now, they enjoy talking and having conversations with others. Okay? Auditory learners just like conversations. If you catch me having a conversation, you will never see me pick a phone. I love conversations. I love to talk. I love to, I love to, talk to people. I like to listen to instructions before taking on acts. I'm one of those people that will bring manuals, read them. I just love, words. They ask a lot of questions when working on tasks. All right. And my daughter will question and question and question, and sometimes you want to get, you want to get, really tired. I'm going to tell you about asking questions in our class tomorrow because that will be what we're doing part of it. How can you teach your auditory learning child? Your auditory learning child assimilates word more than anything else because they learn primarily by listening. Now, auditory learners function well with wordless background music while playing, while they study. I don't like words, but music, like my daughter as well. Once the music has words and I'm studying, I just switch it off. I want it just instrumental, and that's good enough. All right. That's how auditory learners work. The words you say to your auditory learner child is usually completely absorbed and so many meanings read into it. They think in words, they verbalize concepts, they spell words accurately and easily so they can hear different sounds. So they tend to learn phonics, differently. Now, let me tell you about absorbing words differently. I will say the same thing I say to our daughter, to our son. And the way our daughter, Wendy, said in her diary, you will see that is why Wendy told me. As in, she keeps words. I'm like, oh Lord, where did I get this daughter from? All right. So her daughter is, so she tells her dad, I have a note in my head. Everything you say to me, I remember it. I can just pull up that note and tell you what you've said. All right. So auditory learners, they like the talk. Now, how can you help them to learn? It can be beneficial for both auditory learners to use, finger pointers when they're young to read to avoid skipping lines. They benefit from repeating and giving instructions, performing oral evaluation, using word association to remember materials. All right. This is very important for your auditory learners. So the auditory learners are the ones that they are the ones that benefit most in our school environment because most of our teachers just teach. A lot of our teaching in Nigeria it's not done with visuals, it's not done with activities, they are done with words. All right. And it is those words, all right, and it is those words. That's why, the auditory learners will perform very well in school. It's so easy to have auditory learners top the class. So easy. Meanwhile, then visual learners, will follow, and then kinesthetic learners will struggle. You see those children that you come and say is an olodo, he cannot learn and all of that. Most of them are kinesthetic learners. Now let's move to the kinesthetic learners. I call them the doers, the physical people. That's our son. Now, if you have a child whose temperament is sanguine, sanguine means that your child is a jolly good fellow. And then he's also, now you want to read that book, all right? This is not what this class is about. I'm sure the parents in the inner circle are assimilating this differently when I talk about temperament. All right. And kinesthetic learners, all right. And somebody said, can auditory learner be called an overthinker? No, when me more, what happens to auditory when you will now become a male added to being auditory? That combination, can can set you up. All right. So you need to now work on being able to pull yourself out of that. Now, when it comes to learning style, the temperament of a child also plays an important role. Now, if you have a kinesthetic child who is male, you might actually have an easier way route to child learning than when you have a kinesthetic learner who is sanguine. Now, a sanguine kinesthetic learner is already the temperament that is, everything just goes, jolly good life, nothing serious and all of that. And then that child is kinesthetic. That was my case. My son was very physical. He's a sanguine. In fact, I usually say I don't know whether my son is 90% sanguine. I don't know what other, maybe choleric. I don't know what other this maybe choleric, 10%. But he's so sanguine that everything is sanguine. And for those children, you want to actually look at their strength and then work on their weaknesses. Now, we're not saying that because your child is a kinesthetic learner, jumps everywhere, likes activities, it just remain like that. What you need to do is to understand who they are, help them learn, and then teach them using other learning styles. Now, we call them the doers. The doers. These are the kinesthetic learners. They hardly learn in conventional schools. Hardly. Their struggle starts in primary school. And many of the times, these are the children, the parents come to you and say, oh, you're not learning. You're so dumb. You're so everywhere and all of that. Somebody is still asking me if my child is mostly visual and then the largest extent auditory. Yes, that's possible. Your child can be, we talk about dominant learning style. Your child can even be 50-50, 50, 40, 10%, all right, of kinesthetic learner, auditory learner, and visual learner. We all have a percentage of this learning style, but one is more dominant than the other. That's what this conversation is about. They learn through moving, they learn through touching, they learn through doing. If your child is a kinesthetic learner, you might want to consider field trips, experiments. When we realized that our son was a kinesthetic learner, when we started all of those processes and struggles, our first home, when we were buying that home, we insisted that we wanted a place where he can actually play with sand. Because kinesthetic learners don't learn if they are not able to actually induce those physical activities. So we grass the whole patch, put sand. If you see the pictures of my son playing in sand, you'll be thinking that where's this coming from? So if you have a kinesthetic learner, you want to do more physical activities to help the child activate that part of the brain that actually helps them learn. These are the children who struggle the most. They need to move. They need to tap. You notice that your son is reading, all right, and he's tapping in order to stay focused. Anytime my son is reading, there's at the time we had to get him something to fiddle on. All right, they benefit from in-class and hands-on student learning experiences. Field work outside of classroom. They need frequent breaks when studying. When our son is reading, one of the things we do is to break his study times in breaks. If you give him a long haul, he loses focus. All right. So you want to break it. Okay, and then they're always tapping something, they're always swinging, they're always, they're always just everywhere. All right, when they are taking notes, you see that they are drawing one thing at the back or doodling something while they are listening. That's how they learn, that's how they stay focused. It's not because they are distracted. Now, how do you teach a kinesthetic learner child? Kinesthetic learners need to work in shorter blocks of time and take frequent breaks while studying. So instead of telling your kinesthetic learner, go and read for the next 1 hour, you tell my son to go and read for the next 1 hour. Those days, he will just sleep. He will just sleep off, and that's it. Because he can't. He wasn't able to until he now learned how to. So we started by giving him, blocks. We'll say, oh yeah, just do 10 minutes. And the book will need to be very, very physical, where he can laugh, throw his legs. Our son's reading position is leg up with one head down. Your child is a kinesthetic learner if they cannot really sit, be all of that, be serious and all of that. It is not a problem. You need to work with that child from that end and then teach the child how to now attain stability and all of that using the other methods. They tend to need space to read and write. All right. They tend to they're on the floor, they are lying down. You are angry. Why are you lying down and reading? That's how kinesthetic learners learn. They tend to favor action-oriented books. You need to encourage your kinesthetic learner, allow them to use models, projects, demonstrations, as opposed to the traditional written report. My son, had plenty issues writing and all of that. So what we did was we started to do projects. So you read something, we say, okay, so create something out of this. That will be your project of writing an article. And then we started, doing all of that. And then now he cannot write those articles. But we started from his strength. So you can never find my son sitting down straight. Those are just reading book like this. He annoys a lot of parents, but it shouldn't annoy you. That's how who the child is. That's how they are created. You now need to help them to learn. All right. Help them to learn how to now do all of these, other parts. All right. I hope you're learning. I hope you're here with me. I hope you're taking screenshots. All right. Is your Omo yet? Omo. So if you're there and you're, of course, learning a lot, I need to see you. Write in the comment section. Share your favorite emojis. Somebody said, Coach, you're fast. I need to be fast. If I'm not fast, we're going to sleep here. All right. So you would want to come through, and learn a lot, and do a replay, all right, and that will really help you. Can listen to this ones, trust me. Okay. My Omo is dazed. Take screenshots. Let's go and pepper them somewhere. Yeah, don't forget that. All right, so let us move. All right, so it is that thing that you need to now begin to help the child learn. Your kinesthetic learner will like to pace or walk around while reading. Sometimes my son is walking from the stairs down, and you're wondering, why are you moving around, for crying out loud? It's called reading, be in a place. And they like to read with music in the background. All right. They like to, read music, but my son wants to put music. I don't like each other. I don't like this music. Let's play instrumentals. My son was saying, no, I want to, do this and all of that. I just want to. They don't study best while on their desk. So you need to allow them to try lying on their stomach, on their back, comfortable lounge, and all of that. We had to buy a poof for our son at the library corners in our home. All right. So we had to, so when, in fact, even in my office, my home office, my former home office, in my house, you will find that there's a poof down, so that sometimes he's there with me, he's sitting down, then he drops on the poof, and then there's a mat, because that's how they learn. This is my best position, putting his legs up. That's it. That's how they learn. All right. They don't study best while they are there. They allow them try anything that is comfortable for them. They like to study with music in their background. All right. This is very key. While studying, allow them to take frequent breaks. In fact, do 5 minutes in between. When my son reads for 10 minutes, he say, Mom, can I take a break? I say, sure, you can. He will take a break for a few minutes, do one thing, jump, and then come back again at it. If you don't do that, they can't learn. They can't learn. So you need to actually pay attention to this to help your child. When you're buying books for a kinesthetic learner, look for books that have, those books that have excitement and all of that. We realized that our son wasn't reading. We had to go and buy, you have a kinesthetic learner that is young. Go and buy, what do they call it? All these animation books, cartoons and all of that. We chatted, we joke, but that's how our son learned to read. Because we had to work from his strength. Today he reads anything, plenty worded, notes. All right. And it is very important, okay, that you actually help your kinesthetic learner learn. When they get to school, because they can't do all of those things, the teachers will keep complaining. Every time you have complaint, every time, in primary school, they will complain about my son. Ayo will not sit in one place. Ayo will make noise. My son is one of those people that will come from the back, disrupt your class and all of that. Kinesthetic learners, they're just everywhere. But you need to help them. Now, the idea is to help them, okay, to now learn, all right, to walk through it. So one of the things that we did when our children were in primary school was to get the school to actually take this course. And the teachers now started to understand the children better. So what do they do? One of the things I tell teachers is give kinesthetic learners more leadership roles. So that way, they are the keepers of the law. So the moment our son drops in the class, you give him a leadership role, and then he will say, Mom, you know how these things work. You just want to stand up and just hit the table, bam, 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 and then let other people join and all of that. That's who. That's not an excuse not to help your child from one point to another. Now, our son can sit and read in secondary school, can sit and listen in class, but you need to help the child. Okay? And then now, especially if the child is just starting, you're just understanding it. Whether your child is 10 or your child is 20, is the same concept. Okay? Also, remember to demonstrate while giving instructions. So, one of the things that happened to us was that if you read my book on this, the discipline that works, one of the things I wrote in that book was the discipline using storytelling. If you do discipline, give instructions for your kinesthetic learner without storytelling and movie acting, you're on your own. So my husband is the president of drama unit in my church. So my husband says, I think I've been practicing to learn drama so that I can parent, better. And our son, when you're trying to do, give instruction, give advice and all of that, you have to act. We have to act because we realized that the plenty talk he wasn't assimilating it. You struggle with this kind of children because they can't listen. So I asked my son, what happens when the words are coming too fast at you? He said to me, Mom, I shut down. I shut down completely. So I am not able to even hear what you're saying. So many of your children who are kinesthetic learners actually shut down completely. So you're talking to them, you're talking, you're shouting. It doesn't do anything to them. That's why words don't get to them. You tell them everything I've been saying. They can't hear you. They can't assimilate it in that way. So it is important that you actually begin to help the child. The kinesthetic learner is a doer, and we most likely connect better when he sees things done. Movement helps these children focus. Please let them move. Allow them move around every now and then studying. I had to get doodles to fiddle on when our son is reading. I had to get gum when he's reading. The movement is actually one of the things that helps the brain connect. Very key for your kinesthetic learner. All right. Use hands-on activities, experiment, art, projects, nature works, acting out stories so they can feel the activities. See, there are people who are looking at me now, they are kinesthetic learners. As I'm doing this, they are really, it's getting on them like, coach. Those kind of learners like action. They like the action. This thing I'm doing now. Some people, for visual learners, they're looking at me and they're like, coach, you are a bit distracted here and there. For kinesthetic learners, they're like, yes. That's you need to understand, all right, that your children, these children who learn differently, okay, would need to learn using different activities. Now people are, when you talk about teachers, one of the things that when we teach teachers on this particular conversation, we tell teachers to learn all of the learning style and incorporate them in their teaching. What my children's primary school did then was to teach using the different learning styles for each of the topics. Amazing. I can't even stop, talking about bankies. Amazing, amazing system that they ran. And it helped our son stabilize, learn visually, and then our son also started learning auditorily. Today, in second, what happens is that these kinesthetic learners are not handled well in primary school. By the time they finish struggling, they go on to struggle in secondary school because nobody paid attention. Nobody paid attention. And that is one of the key, factors. And then don't give them long range planning, complicated project, paper tasks. And one of the things you want to do for your kinesthetic learner to learn calm is that you want to get them to learn a musical instrument. See, calm does not come easy to your kinesthetic learners. So go and get a musical instrument for them to learn. Our son plays the piano. Today, he's a pianist in his school. All right. And we got to stop. You see all these, you bring lesson teacher, your child is struggling. Oh, lesson teacher there, lesson teacher that. It changes. It doesn't really give your child the joy of learning. Your kinesthetic learner, especially, will just struggle. All right. Will just struggle. Okay. Augusta is asking me, how would the teacher, maneuver? You don't need to maneuver. You don't need to put your plan in such a way that it incorporates every of the learning style. For instance, you want to learn a particular topic, divide it in such a way that each of the learning style is incorporated. Do an experiment on that. Do something that is plot a graph on it, and then let your children also hear you speak. Okay, there's no each peculiarity. If you teach using these three learning styles, you won't lose any child. You won't lose any child, really. And that's what Montessori does. It's everything. That's it. Thank you so much, ma. Madam Ayopoju is a Montessori expert. Beautiful. That's what Montessori does. Montessori, she runs a Montessori school in Lagos, and she's a Montessori expert. Montessori just gets the child to learn in the classroom, so there's no struggle. There's no struggle. Our schools need to look beyond this. Oh, I'm teaching the child ABC. I'm shouting. Repeat after me. Some children will never, ever learn in that environment. Never. Not because they are dumb, but because that's not their primary way of learning. And until you discover their primary way of learning, really, then you are going to now be able to really help your child. Now, like I was saying, for your kinesthetic learner, even for your auditory learner, of course, music will come easy for your auditory learner. But for your kinesthetic learner, please teach them music. Number one reason why you want to teach your kinesthetic learner music is to learn calm. Our son processed the place of calm when he started playing musical instruments. Stop all this hired lesson teacher here and there. I don't know. I keep saying it. You don't need it if you actually understand these pathways. And before the class, the whole module ends, you will see that you don't need, somebody extra come and let your children cram. No, when you open up these pathways. Number two reason why your children should learn musical instrument is that it opens the pathway of learning. It's one of the only things that connect the right and the left hemisphere, just like cooking. So it brought calm to our kinesthetic learner. For our auditory learner, it helped, it enhanced what it is that she was already doing. So let your child, whatever interest that they pick, guitar, drum, whatever it is, all right, let them begin to learn, using them. Another thing you want to do for your kinesthetic learner is to get puzzles. That's one of the things that can help them build focus. Get Lego. When you get into the inner circle, one of the very main thing I tell you is fire your lesson teacher. You don't need it. Your children are going to become maths guru. Quote me anywhere. I say it all the time. If you follow through, you fire them. You don't need them. Bring the money. When you are done, you can put the money and come and give me. I will collect it gladly. All right. So if your child is young, 2 year old, 3 year, you will find you will by the time your child turns 2, you would actually be able to observe their learning style. Every child has learning preferences and styles that are best suited in their way of learning. Some children have dominant learning style, while others prefer to learn using a mix of these learning styles. There isn't necessarily any right or wrong learning, or but by helping your child discover his preferred learning style, you can use techniques that will help improve the rate and the quality of their learning. In conclusion, parenting success is dependent on you, not your child. And I tell the story again of a classmate of mine who was described as dumb when we were in primary school. He told that story on our Facebook community where he actually said, oh, people like Coach Wendy were the smart ones. And, we were the dumb. Because I'm an auditory learner, it's easy for me to just come into a class, listen, bam, and don't move. And then you call me smart. Because the primary and the conventional way of teaching is auditory, and I'm dominantly an auditory learner. So at the end of the day, this guy was, kinesthetic and also had some learning disabilities. All right. In the next modules, I think in modules in next 2 days, we're going to be talking about learning disabilities. Some of us even have learning disabilities in small degrees that we do not know about. Like I keep saying, I have directional dyslexia. I didn't even discover it until I started to learn how to drive. So some of this thing is mild. I can't, know left and right. So it's not about being smart. I'm smart. It's not about, that has nothing to do with it. And it's not a thing. It's not, it's because of that, something has happened to you. You are not something to be ashamed of. No, it's not. So the success, and what happened to this boy? The teacher said, oh, he can't learn, he's dumb, this one, that one. And then the parents said, no, my child is not dumb. And they took it and they started to teach their child. That's what I call the parenting advantage. Will you be an advantage to your child or a disadvantage to your child? And by the time this boy, they helped him out. Today, the boy lectures in one of the biggest universities in Scotland as we speak. He's a PhD holder. I sat with him. I was like, Omo, Namdi, is this you? I sat with him, 2 years ago, and I was like, oh my goodness, what parenting can do. It changes the tides for you, and your child. All right. Somebody's asking, can children of 3-year-old learn musical instrument? Yes, please. The earlier, the better. How can parents with 11-year-old kinesthetic help their children do the same thing that I'm sharing with you, whether your child is 10 or 1? Get your kinesthetic learner to do these things I have shared with you. You can get them a musical instrument to begin to learn, whichever one that they are interested in. Get them books that have a lot of comics and a lot of activities. Can learning a musical instrument help an adult too? Yes. I said from the beginning that one of the facts of the brain is that they used to think that, when you become an adult, you shut down and all of that. No, the neuroplasticity ability of the brain shows that the brain can keep learning until you die. Can keep learning until you die. All right. So if somebody is talking about music lessons, we have somebody is talking about music lessons and a yada who is doing music. You can get a music, hire a music teacher. I hired 2 things that we hired when our children were growing up. A swim coach for your kinesthetic learners, please. Go and get, because activities help them. Go and get them to learn to swim. We hired a swim coach and we hired a music coach. These 2 things, they are the lesson teachers we needed. When our son gets into the water, you will find out that, the energy kinesthetic learners will use, he learned, because it's an activity, it's a physical activity. All right. The energy, he learned it in 1 day. The coach said, I've never seen a day like this. In 1 day, he didn't need to come back. Our daughter it took me and my daughter like 2 weeks. We're still learning and flapping our hands and doing all sorts of things. To ride the bicycle took our son just one day. Our daughter struggled and struggled until we converted the learning to audio. And then that's how she was able to actually learn. Physical activities don't come so easy to us. And if that will help you, I still cannot ride a bicycle. I still cannot ride a bicycle till today. Because I don't even understand, the left and the right and all of that. I managed to learn how to drive. And it is interesting for us to begin to understand who we are, for us to begin to understand what will help us. Somebody's asking what's the relationship between visual and phlegmatic. There's no relationship. A kinesthetic learner can be phleg, it can be, there's no relationship at all. All right. There's no relationship at all. Okay. You can be any of the mix. The only thing is, if you are of this mix, you need to understand how that affects you. Of course, you want to go and read the book why you act the way you do if you're not in the inner circle. Okay, because we just finished. Every inner circle parent understands this, when I talk about temperament in that way, because we've read the book, we have reviewed it, we have pieces it, if there's anything like that. All right. So if you are in that place, all right, where your child is a sanguine, and I use sanguine and kinesthetic because a sanguine is just everywhere, jolly good fellow. You can have sanguines who are auditory learners. You can have sanguines who are visual learners. I use the two because, that can be too distractive, makeup. And if you're not careful, you actually do your child a disservice. And then again, please note, all right, please note, this information is not for you to go and sit down and say, you know what, my child just learns by jumping. Oh, let him just continue to jump. No, we're giving you strategies to help your child learn using other strategies. All right, other learning style. Today, like I said, our son can learn auditorily, he can learn visually. We taught him how to enhance other learning style, but using his most dominant learning style. All right, can things read while you act the way you do? Yes, they can. All right, is there other ways of calming aside from musical instrument? The reason for musical instrument is because it is one of the things that opens connect the left hemisphere and the right one. That's why talking about music. Okay. Cooking can also do that, but music is a lot much more calming. All right. Thank you so much. Somebody said, are we going already? Yes, we're going. There's module 2 tomorrow. We'll see you, tomorrow at module 2 at the same time. Remember, you can catch replay using the same link to catch replay. All right. And of course, you can always put your questions in the community. All right. Our Tuesday live is also going to be live at 2 p.m. as usual. We will be streaming live to teach. That's a public, class. It's for everybody. All right. And also remember that for you to learn, see, continuous learning is the game. Continuous learning is the game. All right. And this is very key. Never stop. Never sit down and just say, you know what are they even saying? And all of that. By tomorrow, we're going to be, sharing with you a lot more other activities that can help with the brain, can help with the learning, and your Omo will be honored. I tell you again, TIP is the expectation. So, was your Omo honored yet? What happened to you? Let's see that. Let's see you share your comments, all right, in the group. You have solved 50% of the problem I have with my two sons. Amazing. And that's it. Knowledge liberates. The more knowledge we get, the more we are able to shift from point A to point B. I keep saying that there is higher knowledge every time. And when you assess it, it changes the game, it changes the tide. But let me say something to you. All right. Let me say something to you. You need to understand that without implementation, there is no result. All right. Without implementation, there is no result. Somebody said, I feel empowered. I love, hearing. So when we tell you to register for a course, we're not telling you, oh, just come, let's just, take your money and then you just, sit down and all of that. No, we are calling you so that we can share value with you. Again, we are the expectation. Your expectations, I told you, keep it on one side. Come without an expectation. We will give you the expectation, even the things that you didn't think you need to learn. Tomorrow will be more honored. we will be glad to have you. See you tomorrow at 10 a.m. I said we're going to do only an hour, 20 minutes. It's such a robust class. That's why I had to even rush. You can see how much we rushed, and yet we had to do an extra 20 minutes to this. Okay, so see you tomorrow, right? It's not allowed for us except the drum. Also, just play the drum, Hajia. So just play the drum. If musical instrument isn't allowed, you can play the drum. Yes, the drum is it works. Okay. Thank you so much, and do have an amazing day. And if you can actually get the trampoline, please do well to get it. It's going to help both you and your child, and you can try one of the activities today. Have an amazing day. I'm ordering some activities, musical and lessons right now. Yes, see you tomorrow and see you in the group. We can stop, putting out the conversation there. Do not forget to take screenshots of your armored state. All right. And snap your state where you were watching this live broadcast today. I would like to see the way you were today. And if you, for people who are asking me, can my friends still register? Yes, they can if they um if they get access to, they will get access to catch a replay of this. Trust me, this is just the beginning and you haven't seen anything yet. Thank you so much and do have an amazing day.